All right, all right, all right. I'm back. The youngster is getting older, so the youngster is doing things that the youngster does. So I have not been able to record as frequently as I wanted to. Like I said, I set out this particular season to cover three teams, and that lasted about 5 or 6 weeks. Involved myself in a couple of other things, so I've essentially been out of the loop. But some things have kind of fallen off of my plate. So now I can get back into what it is that I truly, truly enjoy doing, right? Which is watching my Hurricanes play, helping raise the youngster over here. Let me see, can y'all see the youngster? The youngster right there. So she's doing what she does, right? But anyway, so Miami loses to Georgia Tech. Let me give you a rundown of what transpired that Saturday, right? From my perspective, right? Not pertaining to the game because we're gonna get to that. So Saturday comes around, me and Trucking, we do our pregame show. I need to check it out, man. I need to check it out. I know some of y'all are only focused on the Hurricanes, but hey, man, it's a lot. It's too much excitement happening in college football for you to just be consumed with just one team and not concerned about what's going on. But again, for those that's how they rock, salute, right? But you're missing out on some great stuff, right? So the first game that we went over was Miami versus Georgia Tech. Make a prediction. Now, obviously, my prediction is look, we're gonna win. The reason we're gonna win, this is a revenge game. Georgia Tech social media accounts, they took great pleasure in re-showing that last play from multiple different angles, all those particular different things like that. Haynes King being out the past 2 weeks, so y'all, we're going into the game to play against your second team quarterback. Now, usually in situations like that, I like for both teams to be as healthy as possible. But in this particular situation, I don't care because y'all were gifted a call because of referees. And again, I'm not one to take up for Coach Cristobal very much because I feel like that it's hard to do that when you have his fans that have put him up on this particular pedestal that he does not deserve to be on just yet. So it's hard to shoot the man bail. But I'm gonna shoot the man bail. I'm gonna continue to shoot the man bail on this. While he's the head coach, the game is pretty much won. Take a knee. Let's get out of here. Right? Cool. We can have that discussion. I've had the discussion with multiple people. But I'm not going to overlook the referees. I'm not going to overlook y'all ruling it a fumble on the field. I'm not going to overlook that. To look at replay and still say it was a fumble. And again, not to be a hypocrite. Not to be a hypocrite. When I did my video on the recap of that game last year, I said, hey, look, they made the call on the field that it was a fumble. To me, it's going to be hard to overturn it because from the angles that I saw, there was nothing for them to just say that he had control or he wasn't losing the ball coming down. Now, obviously, as days went on, more people got better pictures, more imagery, and then it was clear as day, hey, that was not a fumble, right? However, media, due to their bias against Miami in many aspects, they didn't see it that way. They just allowed for that particular referee to pretty much go unscathed. He did not have to hold up for the incompetence that he had. But I'm going to stay on his neck. It's your fault. I'm not blaming Coach Cristobal for that. It's your fault. As bad as we played, and in many instances when you play bad like that, you shouldn't win the game. But we shouldn't have been screwed over because of a call like that. The youngster is calling for me. Hold on. Youngster, you see I'm doing something. Come here. You right there. You want to be on camera? You want to be on camera? That's what it was? Okay. You want to see what daddy looking at? All right, boom. Excuse the camera angle, but the youngster, she want to be on camera, so it is what it is. You don't want to be on camera no more? Well, fine. She don't want to be on camera no more. But anyway, so getting back to that. So when we did the prediction on the game, I told Chuck and I said, look, this game can go one of two ways because it's Georgia Tech. It can go the way that it went when we were in Atlanta, when Cam Kitchens got three interceptions and ran a pick six back. Or it can go the way that it went when me and my wife went to go watch Miami play Georgia Tech when Cam Harris was still the running back. I think Nkosi ended up starting that game, and it was just a crap show. We lost the game, but it wasn't a very entertaining game by any stretch of the imagination. I believe this was obviously, yes, Mark Richt was still the head coach. I mean, it was just bad, right? So, and kudos to Georgia Tech, even when we had some of our better teams, going back to the early 2000s and things like that, they still were able to, to win games or be competitive. And we're talking about, hold on for a second, guys. Here, youngster, get your pacifier. I told you, I can't do nothing with the youngster. But anyway, and this is a triple option, right? I still remember the games where the pictures of, I believe we're like on the goal line when Mark D'Onofrio was here. We got the linebackers lined up way back in the end zone as if there's a threat of the pass from Georgia Tech. I mean, just a lot of interesting things have transpired when Miami played Georgia Tech, right? So, and I said that, but even with saying that, nothing in the back of my mind was thinking we would lose this game. Because if anything, as some fans say, we were supposed to have that last play on reel, like just continually playing it the entire week. Like this was not a game that we were supposed to have to need any additional motivation to get to, right? Like you're supposed to go out there and dominate. Joaquin said dominate, you know what I mean? So I probably watched all the 5 plays that entire game because I had to go to work, right? So I missed Georgia Tech's first touchdown drive, right, when they scored. But then I was able to catch Cam Kitchens throwing the ball to Arroyo for the touchdown. I said, okay, well, we're going to take off right now. And I said, I know I got three nights to work back to back, so I need to go ahead and lay down. As much as I want to watch the game, I have to be an adult. I have to make an adult decision. So I got to go lay down. So when I wake up, I look on my phone. I said, it's 2 minutes left. We are down. And I said, let me. I grabbed the remote. I turned the TV back, and I said, what in the world is going on here? I see Cam Ward take the snap. See Cam Ward run around. I see Romello Height, I believe was the guy, forced the fumble. They recover. They get the ball back. They run for a first down. The game is over. The Miami Hurricanes lose to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I said, oh, my goodness. This game went one of the ways that I thought it was going to go. But I didn't watch the game. I missed everything that happened between him throwing the ball to Arroyo for the touchdown to them running for the first down. I missed all of that. So I tuned in to the post game. Shout out to South Coast Kane. Shout out to Coach Hayes. And just to hear the way that the game went, like, Haynes King threw 6 passes but had 20 rushes for 90 yards. I said, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, enough with that, right? So let's get to the gist of what I want to talk about here, right? Now, my Twitter feed has been convoluted, taken over by political stuff due to that's the stuff that I kind of been engaging with more. So I haven't really seen very much Miami stuff. I have to search for it to find it, right? I literally have to go into the search engine, Miami Hurricanes, to kind of see stuff. So I got to get my algorithm recalibrated back to football, right? But in any regard, it's one thing that I haven't seen as PFF. I haven't seen PFF in a while. And I said, you know what? Let me go to PFF and let me see what the heck is going on. So I want to talk a little bit about PFF. I want to talk a little bit about 2023 versus 2024. People talking about the defense. I want to get into some things about the defense, and I want to get into a couple of little snap counts and things like that, right? So we're going to talk about that. Now, I want to start this whole conversation off by saying, I called in the Coach Hayes show, I believe it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and after the Florida State game, as a matter of fact, when he did his Wednesday show, I called in and I said, hey, are fans really upset about the way the game played out against Florida State? And he more or less said, yeah. You know, they felt like the game should have went a certain way and it didn't go that way. We got the victory, but it didn't go that way, right? Like people are upset with the defense. Now, I've said this, right? I watched due to the fantasy, I watched more college football games via YouTube and stuff. I watched more college football than I watched in the past couple of years. And what I've come away with is no one's playing defense. There's no good defense in college football. Irregardless, throw rankings out the door. There are no teams playing defense. The rules are so geared to the offense now to the point that you can't play defense, right? One of the things that I absolutely hate is these bailout pass interference calls, right? And I made mention of this in the video when I was talking about I can't remember who the Falcons were playing, but I remember Kirk Cousins throws the ball to Kyle Pitts in the back of the end zone. Defender is face guarding Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts is able to, reach over him and, kind of make contact with the ball. He doesn't catch it. They throw a flag, right? Automatic first down, all that stuff like that. So I hate to see that because I'm like, these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. You mean to tell me that they can't fight through a little contact and make a catch? Like, come on, man. Like, let's unless it's just absolutely egregious, like you just literally are tackling the man. But if you're talking about a little bumping back and forth, like, man, let them play, man. You got individuals making in excess of $15-20 million per year. We got players in college, NIL deals. Y'all are making $1 million to $2 million. And, but anyway, so we're going to move on, right? So I've seen people call for Lance Gidget to get fired, which is absolutely hilarious to me because it just shows how fickle many of you people are. Because it went from Lance Gidget is the best hire Coach Cristobal has made. We cannot let him leave. Look at his pedigree. Look at what he's done in the past. It was Shannon Dawson who needed to hit the road last year. And by many accounts, I still feel like Shannon Dawson has not done anything special this particular year. I think it's a lot to do with Cam Ward just being very good, making certain play calls look better than they are. And obviously he has the autonomy to change plays at the line of scrimmage. So in reality, we don't know how many of these plays that are being run are actually Shannon Dawson's play calling versus Cam Ward making a check because of something that he sees, right? So there's that, right? So me being me, I just find it funny because you know why I find it funny? Because some of the same individuals that are calling for Lance Gidget to be fired are some of the same ones that said, I will be happy when all of Manny Diaz players are gone off this team. When the reality is, it was 3 of Manny Diaz players on defense that made the defense look good last year. Y'all want to have a discussion. But guess what? Y'all ain't got to have it. I'm going to have it. James Williams, Cam Kitchens, and Corey Flagg are missed. Shout out to my dog DP for bringing that up. Even though I had that thought in my mind the whole time. Because going into this season, I said to myself, how are you just going to go and replace 2 individuals that are in the NFL? Youngster in here showing out again. Hold on, y'all. Youngster, what's wrong? Get your pacifier. Youngster want me to pick her up. Come on, youngster. Come on. Come on. There we go. You good? All right. So Corey Flagg was the brains behind this whole thing, right? A lot of people will question, but why is Corey Flagg playing so much? I don't care that he knows the defense. He's not the most athletic. He's not fast. He doesn't do all this. And the thing of it is that y'all get too caught up on measurables. We all watch the Little Giants. What did the man tell the guy on the Little Giants? Football is 20% mental. 20% physical, 100 some odd percent mental. What does that mean? You have to be able to outthink your opponent. We're out here, guys are not lined up correctly, terrible angles, the plays not getting called in the correct way. Do you think, again, this is the first year where they actually have, you can communicate with the players via helmet. You think if Corey Flagg was getting the calls from the sideline, you think the defense would look like this? No, it would. Now, we talked about Cam Kitchens, missed angles, being too aggressive on the back end, certain things like that. But again, I tell you what, he was better than Mish Powell. He was better than Mish Powell. Again, it's a Twitter page, right? It's a Twitter page. I ain't gonna call it a name because I don't want to give you any publicity because I think you are I think you're one of those ones that you're living vicariously through Mario. So I ain't gonna give you no pub. But I went back to their page and I found the tweet. This is after the first game. I told y'all Jaden Harris and Mish Powell were better than Cam and James. See, again, you're one of those ones that and I commented, right? And I said, this is rich coming from you. A person who blamed the previous regime's players for our first 2 years being subpar. So it's rich coming from you to say something like that. But guess what now? Is he saying it now? No, he ain't saying it now. Guess what? Guess what he had the audacity to tweet out? And I'm paraphrasing. He had the audacity to tweet out to say that. No, this was the comment that I said, this is rich coming from you. This is what he said, I'm paraphrasing. I know rival fan bases are going to crack jokes and clown because we lost. But to have Kane fans rejoice in this and this whole I told you so is sickening. And the more I think about that, it's like, isn't that what y'all are doing? We were 9-0. Isn't that what y'all were doing? We told y'all Mario was gonna do this. We told y'all he was gonna do that. We told y'all Mario this. We told y'all Mario this. Y'all also told us Lance Guidry was the best hire Mario made. Now y'all want him fired. Y'all can't be trusted. Y'all are liars. And guess what? Let me rewind for a minute, right? Because I really wasn't gonna do this video, but I got hyped, man. I just watched. Shout out to South Coast Kane. I was watching South Coast Kane. He shouted out Ike and Israel. So I went over there and watched Ike and Israel. And I said, ooh, they talking that talk over there. They talking that talk. And I said, man, you know what? The season is about over. It's one or two things going to happen, right? Either we're going to win out or we're going to drop another game. Or two, right? That's all that can happen, right? Shout out to South Coast Kane again. Why am I shouting out South Coast Kane? Because South Coast Kane did something this offseason he did not have to do. He put in the time, the effort, the analysis to go all the way back and break down season by season up into this particular point. And one of the mottos coming into this season by some of the diehards, I'll say that, was forget about the past. It's different now. Forget about the past. We can't forget about the past. The reason we can't forget about the past is because when you forget about the past, you think there's some new stuff happening when it's already happened. For example, in the past, we've always had one side of the ball that looks better than the other side. Remember 2017, 2018, how the defense was so much better than the offense, and it literally had to carry the offense to wins? Think about this. Let's go back to 2017 for just for reference, right? What happened when the defense was not able to hold up in 2017? We lost to Pitt. We turned around, we lost the ACC championship game, and then we turned around, we lost to Wisconsin. Why? Because the side of the ball that we depended on the most couldn't hold up. What happened? What happened this week? The offense couldn't hold up. Shout out to the Orange Bowl boys, right? Because I saw a tweet that they put out in South Coast Kane shared it. And it was like, and they're correct. It don't sound good, but they right. It says that, why y'all getting so mad at the defense? This is what the defense is. If anything, we should be upset with the offense. I'm paraphrasing. We should be upset with the offense because they didn't show up today. And that's true. That's true. Because the offense has been averaging over 35, 36, almost 40 points a game. They come out and score 23. Yeah, that is, yeah. That's what happens when the one side of the ball is not able to pick up the other side of the ball. I saw someone tweet the other day as well. Shout out to Studio One because he told me I formulated all my opinions off of Twitter. He may be right. But someone said they watched Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd said the Miami Hurricanes would be a 5-win team without Cam Ward. I don't agree with that. I think we'd be a 7-win team. I think we'll be the same 7-win team we were last year without Cam Ward. Why? Because last year we were a quarterback away. This year, we're talking about we have an entire side of the ball that was supposed to be rock solid. They're not upholding their end of the bargain. Where have we seen this? 2017. We saw this in 2018. There was a decade probably or so where the defense was holding up while we didn't have a quarterback. I mean, so again, shout out to South Coast Canes because this is nothing new. Guess what else I see people calling for? Play the young guys. Wait a minute. Y'all said the culture was changing. Why are y'all using the same talking points for previous coaching staff? I remember this. Remember it was fire this coordinator, right? That happened in the past. Play this player. That happened in the past. The only thing that is different now than in the past is Cam Ward. So Cam Ward is the single link or the single thing that can change what we've already seen in the past. What do I mean by that? I mean that Cam Ward has the opportunity to go out here and do something that has not been done since 2002, which is get the University of Miami to a national championship game. If he doesn't do that, we can go back and pick whatever year you want to pick, and we can say, oh, yeah, we saw that. But I'm going to go ahead and play devil's – I'm not devil's advocate. I'm going to go ahead and spoil the story right now. If history is to repeat itself based on what we just saw against Georgia Tech, the Miami Hurricanes are going to lose another 2 games. Right? They're going to lose another 2 games. Not saying we're going to lose to Wake Forest and Syracuse, but we're going to lose another 2 games because history says this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what history says. So Cam Ward has the ability to change history. And then we can finally say, guess what? Maybe the Canes are over the hump. Maybe we can disregard what we've seen the past 20 years. But if we lose 2 more games, guess what? Well, Cristobal and this current administration staff, y'all are no different than the previous staffs. The only difference is y'all got more money to burn than they did. But we're getting practically the same results. How are we getting the same results, Shad? Al Golden had a good 3rd year. Randy Shannon had a good 3rd year. I feel like had we not encountered the injuries that we encountered in 2021, Manny Diaz would have had a good 3rd year. So 3rd year for Miami for Hurricane head coach. This is nothing new. But again, obviously we know what happened with Mark Richt. He was a year early. His best year was his 2nd year, right? But this again, when you forget history, you'll think that something miraculous and amazing is happening when it's not. It's not. Now, I won't be a David Downer, but again, Cam Ward is on you. And think about this for a second, right? We have to have the number 1 overall offense in college football to have a margin of victory by what? A possession? So imagine if our offense was ranked 9th. Matter of fact, what if it was ranked 5th? What if we had the 5th ranked offense, right? Which would be tremendous. We probably got 1 or 2 more losses. So think about this for a second, right? Because of the other side of the ball, the offense cannot help but to be spectacular. It can't help but to be spectacular. But what happens when it's not spectacular? That happens. All right. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I've already gone a little bit longer than I want to go already. But let's go ahead and let's get to some stuff, right? I want to point out 4 players. Let me make sure. 5 players. I want to point out 5 players, right? Kiko Marinoa, Wes Passant, Daryl Porter Jr., Mish Powell, and Elijah Austin. According to PFF, I'm gonna make PFF great again. Because apparently I see the grades. I don't blame people for not posting the grades. They don't look good. But guess what? For the ones that don't have PFF, I got you back. So I'm gonna compare 2024 to 2023. Right. So these are Kiko Mary Noah's numbers in 2024. Overall defensive ranking or grade 63.3. Run defense grade 71. Tackling 45.3. Pass rush 65.4. Coverage 54.4. But we knew what we were getting with Kiko when he came here. So I'm not gonna, bash the young man for that. But man, but let me give some context. Because just by me reading those numbers off, we don't know if he improved or he regressed from last year. So let's go back to last year. Overall defensive grade last year, 71.6. So he was better last year in overall defense. Run defense last year, 78.1. So he's better than he was last year. Tackling, 71.9. Much better than he was last year. Pass rush, 71.3. Better than he was last year. Better last year than he was this year. My bad. I'm stepping on my words. And coverage, 58.1. Again, better last year than he was this year. Let's go to West Saint. Overall defensive grade, 71.3 this year. Run defense, 70.5. Tackling, 65.8. Pass rush, 56.3. Coverage, 76.1. 2023. Overall defensive grade, 61.8. So he improved. Run defense, 67.3. He improved. Tackling, 71.2. He regressed. Pass rush, 58.7. Coverage, 56.7. He improved. So West Saint has improved, while Kiko regressed. So essentially, that's not beneficial, right? So let's go to Daryl Porter Jr. Now, in the offseason, there was some people talking about Daryl Porter Jr. Some people felt like Daryl Porter Jr. wasn't as good as the numbers said that he was. Now, me personally, I felt like in many instances, Daryl Porter was solid. He was decent, but I didn't look at Daryl Porter and say that, oh well, this is just the best corner in college football, right? I thought he was good, right? I thought he was solid. Now, obviously, these grades are probably going to be, a little biased or going to look a certain way because I know that they played him in the slot, so his numbers are going to look a little bit different than they looked last year. But nonetheless, got to call it out for what it is. So, overall defensive grade this year, 58.3. Run defense, 76.1. Tackling, 61.9. Pass rush, 65.5, which, that's kind of irrelevant from a cornerback. Coverage, 53.8. My goodness. But again, we don't know if that's good or bad. So let's go back to last year. Overall defensive grade, 80.6. Run defense, 74.9. Tackling, 82.5. Pass rush, 61.1. Coverage, 80.2. So by all accounts, Daryl Porter Jr. has regressed. But again, played in the slot. But the best hire Coach Cristobal made felt like he should play in the slot. So who am I? I'm just a fan. Let's go to Mish Powell. Now, when Mish Powell got here, I was one of the people, I'm going to be honest with you, I was skeptical. I was still on Inside the U message board at the time. And I'm like, what are we jumping up and down about Mish Powell for? Oh, he played on the national championship runner-up. They lost. No one remembers Washington because of defense. But again, it's a Mario player. All right, cool. Once they say that, I'm out the door. So let's go back to Mish Powell. This year, overall defensive grade 68.9, run defense 49.1, tackling 40.2, pass rush 67.1, which again is irrelevant. Your DB coverage 75.2. Right. So again, that looks bad, but I mean, did he regress? All right, last year, Mish Powell, overall defensive grade 68.3, basically the same. Run defense 55.5, a little bit better. Tackling 39.6, basically the same. Pass rush 65.7, basically the same. Coverage 73, basically the same. So what does that mean? It means Mish Powell, essentially, y'all hyped him up at Washington. He came back and gave us the same performance. Now, obviously, this coverage grade is interesting because I know a lot of people are talking about Mish Powell just being bad in coverage. And again, like I say, PFF is not without his faults and his flaws. But again, it just goes to show Mish Powell's the same player he was at Washington. So, I mean, like the Orange Bowl boys say, I mean, what did y'all expect? He just that's what he is. That's what he is. So, last player, we're gonna go with Elijah Austin, right? Remember, he had the highest pass rush grade of any player, pass rushing minutes, right? So let's go to this year. Overall defensive grade 72.4, run defense 70.2, tackling 68.4, pass rush 67.1. Again, I don't know if that's good or bad. We don't know if that's good or bad. So let's go back to last year when he was at Marshall. Overall defensive grade 91.3. He regressed. Run defense 69.7, basically the same. Tackling 57.7, slightly better this year. But here's the big one. Pass rush 90.9 last year. Massive regression. I'm sure people will say we don't follow PFF, but guess what? I don't care. We make the PFF great again. So let's move on. Let's look at the offensive line, right? Some people have been critical of the offensive line. I know Cuban Kane has been one of the ones that have called for Coach Mirabal to be fired. I'm not on that. You know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, because my outlook is this. From high school on forward, unless you're just an elite guy, I mean, the defensive linemen are just, they come to college more prepared. They're ready to play much quicker than their offensive line counterparts. So, and I think it was Urban Meyer a while ago. I saw a video. Urban Meyer was talking about how offensive line recruiting has changed since he's been coaching. Because he spoke about how some years ago they didn't have all these specialty camps and stuff like this, right? So when you went to go look at an offensive lineman, like, you pretty much knew what it was he was going to do. But now, with so much focus being on skill position players, there's not really as much focus on the offensive line now. So when you get an offensive lineman, regardless of how highly they're ranked, it's still a project, right? And we know so because Samson Okinola was a 5-star guy, but he's very much a project. It just is what it is. But anyway, let's look at some numbers. Okay, we're going to start with last year. Hurries surrendered by the offensive line last year, 53. Sacks surrendered, 11. Hits to the quarterback, 19. They had 37 penalties, right? So let's go to 2024. We still have 2 games to go, but let's look at the numbers. Hurries, 67. Sacks, 10. Hits, 8. Penalties, 29. So offensive line, pretty much kind of the same. You know what I mean? Quite a few more hurries, seeing that we got 2 more games to go. And the majority of those hurries, both years, were attributed to the tackle position, right? Markel Bell and Francis Mary Noah this year combined had 24 of those 67 by themselves. No one else had double-digit hurries, right? So let's compare pass blocking and run blocking. Again, this is PFF. Pass blocking 80 last year, run blocking 68.3. Pass blocking this year 75.8, run blocking this year 66.5. So again, based on those 2 metrics, offensive line last year was a little bit better, right? But again, that's to be expected because we had better players on offensive line last year, right? So, but I'm not here to necessarily talk about the offense because, again, what can you say about the number 1 overall offense, right? It's not too much bad that you can say about it, right? So let's move on to the defense, right? So one of the things that I've caught is individuals, and shout out to my dog King Reezy. Love that guy, right? Um, I've heard people say, well, we still got a top 20 ranked defense. It's not as bad on paper. It's not as bad as it looks. Yeah, it is. It is. But I wanted to break some things down, right? I wanted to break some things down. Because when I think about defense, I think about four components. To me, is what really makes a good defense, right? And these are my four components. People may have different components, but these are my four. Third down, which means how often are you getting off the field? Red zone, how successful are you from keeping your opponent out of the end zone? Scoring defense, which that's pretty much self-explanatory. How often are you keeping your opponent off the scoreboard, period? Keeping them out of field goal range and also not allowing for them to drive down the field or get a chunk play to the end zone. And lastly, turnovers, right? To me, those four things tell me whether or not I have a good defense, regardless of what total defense is, right? So these are the Miami Hurricane rankings in these four categories. Third down defense, we're tied for 31st, which is, it's not top 20, but it's not too far outside. Red zone defense, 77th. Scoring defense, 58th. Turnovers, 35th, right? So again, I'm not a mathematician by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that you add those four numbers and you divide by 4, you'll get a number. So when I add those four numbers up and I divide by 4, I get 50th. Now, when we look at the games, I think most people would say, yeah, we got a 50th ranked defense, right? But some people will say, well, what about the run defense? What about the pass defense? What about that? Okay, I got you covered. So I added these in here. So our run defense grade this year is 24th. Not bad. That's in the 20s. Pass defense 49th. That's not in the 20s. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and let me add these 6 numbers up and divide by 6. And what do I get? I get 45th. So essentially, we got an average middle to the pack defense, which I think most people would say, hey, that's what I see when I watch games on Saturdays and the occasional game that we had on Friday. Now let's go a little bit more deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper, right? I think we all agree that 2023 defense was better, looked better, right? So let's do some comparison, right? Shout out to PFF again. Gonna make you great again, baby. So I'm gonna start with this year. So this year we have 29 sacks, 33 hits on the quarterback, 150 hurries, and 13 interceptions. Again, we still got 2 games to go, so these numbers can increase, right? Last year we had 36 sacks, 42 hits on the quarterback, 177 hurries, but only had 11 interceptions, right? So based on this, the current unit is only performing better than last year's unit based on interceptions, and that's by 2. But again, what we see on film is not, it doesn't support this. It doesn't support this at all. Again, I gave the grades. 5 contributors to the defense. It doesn't look good. But again, PFF is, whatever it is, right? So again, let's go to PFF let me go to PFF one more time, right? Tackling. Last year, PFF said the Miami Hurricanes, y'all have a tackling grade of 73. Guess what PFF said we got this year? 59.9. It's not good. But again, how much of this is Lance Guidry, again, the best hire Coach Cristobal has made? How much of that is his fault? And shout out to Canesville, man. You know what I'm saying? I love those guys over there. And I think it was KB. I think KB, he made a very interesting point, right? And the point that he made is that this is not all on Lance Guidry. Because he said Lance Guidry comes off as a guy who is not a selfish guy. He doesn't come off as a guy that says, this is mine, this is me. He doesn't have a problem delegating anything, right? If he feels like your approach to something can be more effective, okay, let's go that direction. The reason I bring that up is because We got Jason Taylor on this staff, former NFL player, Hall of Fame player, Miami Dolphin legend, high school, very good high school coach in his own right. Some of this defense is on him. I still remember the clip that people kept flashing of Derek Nichols in the offseason when he was talking about how West Saint had took his game to another level. Derek Nichols, some of this responsibility is yours as well. Coach Joe, we've been on your head since you got here. Some of this is on you. So I'm not going to completely blame Lance Gridgy for this when every level of the defense doesn't look good. Now, going into the season, much was made about the defensive line. And I was one of the people that said, look, all of this hoopla about the defensive line, y'all are really basing this on pass rushing. Not necessarily basing this on we have a defensive line that's gonna be good in all aspects. It's not what we were talking about, right? Now, again, and another thing that I brought up, how do you mitigate a good defensive line? Quick passes, hurry up. Basically, all the things that we've seen this particular year that has essentially nullified this defense. Tyler Barron, big time get. I didn't bother. I looked at his PFF numbers, and his PFF numbers were essentially the same as they were at his time at Tennessee. So he's basically the same player. I don't know what has happened in term after the. I mean, according to PFF, he's actually playing much better than what it looks like on the film. But again, like I say, people, PFF they have their flaws, right? But basically, Tyler Barron is exactly the same player that he was at Tennessee, according to PFF, right? But again, it's like after the first couple of games, watching the sacks, watching the disruption and everything like that, I think we were all looking at like, well, shoot, man, we got a first round, got a first team All-American, a first team All-Conference. This is going to be another first round pick at the defensive end. I don't know why that's going to happen. I asked my dog Ken Reeves, I said, what do you think it is? Do you think it's injury? Do you think the check is cleared and now he's trying to preserve himself for the NFL? And he said, maybe a bit of both. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what could be the issue with Tyler Barron, to be honest with you, right? Because he doesn't like the same guy. And then some people may say, hey, look, he's not ready for the ACC competition. And it's like, well, bro, you played in the SEC. And that was one of the reasons many people said he's a great get. Oh, well, he played against SEC talent. But now y'all are talking about the SEC over. Never mind. Because y'all feed into the foolishness as well. But anyway, I want to close this video out with this, right? Hopefully Saturday or Sunday, I can get up with the guys and we can do a good old showdown. We can have a good discussion. I don't know if anyone's gonna go live later today that I can hop on or anything. I just want to get this video out, man, because like I said, I know how my time is with the youngster. It's almost time for the youngster to eat, so I need to go in and wrap this video up anyway. But the last thing I want to say, right? And I've heard people say this, and I'm trying to figure out what does this mean, right? And let me make sure I read the statement correctly. We're playing down to competition. So I looked at the definition of this. Like it was really like this phrase is really defined, and it says when a team underperforms against weaker opponents. And I stopped and I thought to myself, I said, wait a minute. This is an experiment. Let me tell you what I mean by this. This is an experiment. This is what the experiment calls for. In order for you to say that you're playing down to competition, I think you have to have a situation where the competition is equal across the board and you play at a certain level. And then when you play what is perceived to be a lesser team, you don't look as good. Now, based on our schedule, we have not played a team that has equal talent as us. We haven't. We haven't played one ranked team this entire season. We haven't played. And I can't say the teams we played this year are bad because they've taken us to the wall. You know what I mean? In many aspects, and people will, people still say, "Oh well, we're Miami is their Super Bowl." I don't buy into that. The reason I don't buy into this is because you're talking about individuals, many young men who you weren't even alive when Miami was good. So how is Miami your Super Bowl? This isn't the '80s. This isn't back when D'Angelo Hall, when Miami was going to play Virginia Tech, and he went out there and did a press conference and said, "Hey, look, all those guys that made Miami good, I'm paraphrasing, they're gone now. So this new Miami, they got to prove to us that they deserve that respect." This ain't that. So what do you mean we're a Super Bowl? We're playing down the competition? No, we're not playing down the competition. This is what we are. But again, let's go back. South Coast Kings, shout out again. Let's go back. People been saying this since '04. We're playing down the competition. But my thing is this though. It's like, how can you say we're playing down the competition? What have we shown that says that we're better than these teams? Now, if you want it now, I'm sure the obvious answer would be, well, look at the recruiting ranking. Who cares about recruiting rankings? Shout out to Manny Diaz for saying something that I will always stand on that I felt like was one of the best things he ever said. And I'm paraphrasing this. Don't matter what your high school ranking was. You got to prove that you got to prove that ranking when you get the green tree. You got to prove it. Whether that means your ranking will increase if you were a 3-star, but you get on green tree and you get on the field and you play like a 4 or 5-star. OJ Frederick, Cedric Redwine, Trent Harris, Denzel Perryman, just to name a few guys who came in lowly ranked, but once they got on the field, oh yeah, you were you were better than that. And then you got the ones who came in with all the nostalgia, all the fanfare. I'm not gonna call their names out because they've been dragged through the mud enough. But you know the names. That you got the green tree, you got to the game film, and you didn't look nothing like that. So again, I need somebody to answer that question for me. How the Miami Hurricanes playing down to competition? What have we shown that we deserve? What have we shown that shows that we are a good team, or ever have been a good team since we got in ACC play? Where is it at? Like, for whatever reason, this particular season, that particular comment has irked me the most because I'm sitting up here like, we have not played a team that's equally as good as on paper. Let's go back to this. Let's on paper. We have not played a team on paper that is as good as we are. So what does that mean? That means we cannot say that we're playing down a competition because we don't know what we would look like if we played against a team that's just as talented as we are. So imagine again. So again, if the defense is performing like this against what we feel is inferior opponents, what the heck is the defense going to look like if we play a team that has an offense on paper that's just as good as ours? What does that look like? And again, we're playing teams that don't have as good of that don't have very good defenses ranking wise. So what does our number one offense look like? And it hasn't been tested. And shout out to Ike Israel again because they brought up a very good point. They basically said, bro, this number one ranked offense is kind of a facade. Why is it a facade? Because we have been in situations where we have been fighting to get back into games. Because if we really truly had the number one offense in college football, there's not if anything, we're supposed to be going point for point. There should never be a situation Cal should be up 35 to whatever we had. If we truly the number one offense. If we truly number one offense, like 23 points. I thought that was, bro, I said, ooh, that boy doing some analysis over there. That's some analysis over there. Because if you got the number one offense, what you look like being down 4 possessions at any point? You mean to tell me average to below average defenses can prevent you from scoring? So no, I would not subscribe to this theory that we're playing down the competition. No, this is just what we are. Simple as that. And history shows we will lose another game or two unless Cam Ward can change the outlook on things. And the thing about that, in the 1 or 2 more games could be either one game this particular season. Well, really, maybe 3 games, right? Because obviously we're going to a bowl game regardless, whether it's a playoff bowl game or whether it's another bowl game. But we know the bowl game for the most part, there are going to be a lot of players that are not playing. So we very well could lose that game. And then individuals will get to do the same foolishness they did when we played Rutgers. Oh, well, a lot of these players are not going to be here next year. So you mean to tell me that the players that we've recruited, that we're supposed to have been developing, they can't beat another team that probably has opt-outs as well? Lucy, you got some explaining to do. But anyway, man, I'm out of here, man. Because I wasn't going to do this video. Ike Israel hyped me up so much, man. I'm like, they doing some analysis over there. Plus, again, the season is over, man. We done played 10 games. We got 2 more games to go. The season is pretty much over. Hopefully, when I convene with the fellas again, man, we can start talking about next year, right? Because it wasn't the right time to talk about this off season, right? But now it's time to kind of talk about it, right? And I'm gonna end it on this right here. I said I was gonna end it on there, but I'm gonna end it on this, right? I want to look at snap counts, right? So potentially these are the guys that potentially could come back next year, right? Jaden Harris, Wesper Saint, Orlando, OJ, Ricard, Malik Bryant, Zaquan Patterson, Popo, Justin Scott, right? And Cole. Those are some of the guys that we're going to be dependent on next year if they come back. So let me look at snap count. Jaden Harris has played 511 snaps, but again, we don't need Jaden Harris on the field. That's what people have said, right? But apparently Markeith Williams hasn't done enough to take him off the field, and obviously Zaquan Patterson is a young player, right? So Wesper Saint, he might come back. Hopefully he does, and get better. He has played 465 snaps. OJ Frederick has played 457 snaps. Ricard played 405. Ruben Bain, obviously we know Ruben Bain has missed some games. He's played 267 snaps. Malik Bryant has played 130. Zaquan Patterson 106. Popo 91. Scott 92. Cole 55. So what does that mean? To me, it means that we don't have these young players. They're not getting enough snaps in games. So that means that it's going to be trial by fire. Shout out to Cuban Kane because he brought this up. On paper, we have a much tougher schedule next year than we did this particular year. So they're going to have to earn their stripes against tougher competition than what could have been a benefit this particular year. And there's rumors, maybe Shannon Dawson might leave. So that's another thing, right? So I mean, this particular year, but again, I don't. We'll talk about that later, right? I just want to keep it where we keep it at right here, right? I shouldn't even read off those snaps, but in reality, man, based on metrics, we got a top 50 defense by the metrics that really matter, right? But anyway, man, I'm out. Hopefully, like I say, me and the guys, we convene later this week, man. I'm probably going to call it the Coach Hayes Show, man. You know what? No, I don't. I'm not going to call in because I'm sure the phone line is probably going to be jam-packed. So I might. But then again, I got preferential treatment because I'm a member. I might call in. But hopefully, me and the guys, we convene this weekend or something like this. And we can talk about this, right? So, but anyway, man, like, share, subscribe, comment. And as always, it's still about the you, man. Don't get it twisted. Still about the you. Always. I'm out.